Derek, thanks for bringing your vehicle over here.
You got it. I would too.
Tell us a little bit about, I can tell you all kinds of stuff, but I love hearing from our customers.
Okay, so to start out with, this is not my first AEV vehicle. So I had a Colorado Bison. You said you were worth 50 points, man. So.
It's like bowling.
So this is not my first AEV vehicle. I had a Colorado Bison that I bought off the lot, and they shipped it directly from the dealership over to AEV, and we got the full Bison kit put on that truck.
Yeah.
And that truck was the absolute beast. I recently traded that truck in and went to a full size, so I went to the 1500, and I knew that I wanted the AEV packages on my next vehicle because they're trail ready, they're off-road capable right out of the gate.
Yeah.
So in order to get a jump on having a vehicle that I can just immediately go and start doing what I do, overlanding or off-road, whatever, I started with the 1500. So that's where that ended up.
Awesome.
So, the steel bumpers, the winch capable bumper.
Yep.
Hey,
let's come around the front. We'll kind of walk around and talk about the different parts on it. So I'll kind of give you a little bit of what sort of the pitch was for GM when GM came to us and kind of how this sort of evolved. GM came to us originally in 2016 about preparing to try to do something like what that Bison you had was. And the idea was they were like, hey, we have something really special with Multimatic's suspension is really good. It's a whole different kind of shock system with a valve system that's different than a normal shock.
The spool valves.
Yeah. And then, they were like, hey, this it's a really capable truck, but we want to harden it. We want to have so that it's got the durability that matches the capability. Because it's one thing to make a truck higher and have more capability, but if it's not really protected, you're just going to destroy it.
Absolutely.
You've given it enough ability to get itself in trouble. And so that was kind of where they employed us. They employed Multimatic. Multimatic, I don't know if you know this, but Multimatic they essentially design most of Ford's racing suspensions for their team. And then their first partnership with GM was in 2014 when GM did that sort of limited edition Z28. You could get without air conditioning, you could get with a roll cage. It was a legit track car, and that whole suspension was designed by Multimatic. So yes, we don't design the suspension, but it's on our truck, and we're really proud that it's kind of part of it.
And a lot of people don't know that Multimatic's actually a very large company, and they're into a lot of different avenues, right? So the suspension is just kind of one small piece of what they do. So the shocks is just, it's almost kind of like just kind of a little black ops thing that they do, because
the Ford GT was essentially Multimatic's design.
Right.
I mean, if you go to the Multimatic's website, it's a lot about the Ford GT supercar. But so anyway, the idea was they were like, hey, we have something special with this truck, but we want AEV to do what you're really known for, among other things, is super strong OEM style quality bumpers and skid plates that we basically set the new bar for skid plating. It's funny because one of the best parts of the AEV package is you can't see unless you get up underneath it.
Exactly.
I like how a lot of dealers will actually have it up on a ramp or up on some rocks. So you can look down underneath it. So it's got 5 boron steel skid plates. And the point of that is, boron is 7.5 times more, it's 7.5 times stronger on what's called the KSI Connect than traditional steel. So normal steel takes 28,000 pounds per square inch to gouge, 28,000. But boron, which all 5 of these skid plates are, it takes 210,000 pounds to gouge per square inch. So it's 7.5 times stronger, but it's 40% lighter. So honestly, the weight reduction was the big deal, because when they came to us on the Bison, they were like, hey, we want to, we'll agree, okay, your wheels, if you can do skid plates and bumpers, but you can't add more than, I think it was 200 pounds. And we're like, well, that's not going to happen.
Right.
And in this company that provides boron to a lot of the OEMs, like Volvo, was like, hey, try this material. And so, but the thing was with the bumpers and our traditional steel, we cold or room temperature stamped. But boron is so rigid and hard, you have to hot stamp it several hundred degrees. You have to get it red hot. And so that introduced a whole new thing for us of learning how to do hot stamping. And it just, it made it so that the skid plates on this are essentially almost indestructible. Nothing's indestructible, but it takes quite the tool to cut it. Let's just say that.
Right. And this truck, I've had it for 6 days. They delivered it to me on Sunday. I loaded it up on Tuesday. It's here. We're Saturday. So, the next time people see this, it's going to look completely different. I'll have the winch kit in. That's a collaboration that AEV GM did with Come Up.
Yes.
So we'll end up with the Come Up winch in there. We'll, you know, the whole AEV package on any of the vehicles that AEV works with is a great foundation to get you going in the direction you want to go, to make your vehicle your own.
Yeah.
You know, it's really just a great starting point. And, you know, that's one of the things I like about it. Not to mention, I used to live right next to the assembly in Wixom.
Yeah.
So
you said you were a couple miles, right?
Yeah, I lived right off a 12 mile, right by. So just a little bit down 12 mile, and I worked for GM, and I had to drive.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so and I had to drive by there every day, twice a day. So
you were like, man,
I would
get one of those things.
I would see all the vehicles in the lot.
Yes,
you know, and
there's never a time where there's not.
No, I know.
A couple dozen at least, if not several.
And then I never got my AEV vehicle until I moved to Florida.
That's funny, man.
It is.
Well, it was. You got away from it and then you longed for it.
Right. So it was kind of ironic.
But. Yeah, you know, you mentioned the winch. I mean, it's really, you know, GM had never had a bumper that was winch ready.
Right out of the factory.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things I tell people, you know, when I'm talking to customers about these is you don't necessarily have to be someone that plans on doing rough, rock crawling, serious off-roading. A winch comes in super handy, especially if you live in the northern states.
Yes.
People are getting, you know, sliding off the side of the road, getting stuck and stuff.
Right.
Being able to be, you know, a good neighbor and go out and help with your winch, pulling people out, man, there's a lot of value in that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can live in a rural area in any of the 50 states.
It's true.
And having a winch is a vital tool if you're in a rural area, because the ability to get help is sometimes not there.
Well, and also you can use it to get yourself out.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Right.
There's a great device called a pull pal. Are you familiar with the pull pal?
Yeah.
So pull pal it's kind of like looks like a modified version of a shovel, sort of. But you would run a line, your winch to the pull pal, and the pull pal, you put it down kind of facing toward you down into the ground, and as you pull on it, it digs itself deeper. But it's great for if you're out in the sand or you're somewhere where there's just nothing to attach to. That's like,
provided it's
a military tool that's been used for a long time.
Provided it's not all rock and you can get it to go.
It's true, and it's not slippery.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, thanks for bringing us by. Let's take a look. So you've got the AEV front bumper. Obviously, there's skid plates, which we kind of looked underneath. You know, our recovery points are substantially stronger than the factory recovery points can handle. Where you get into issues with the recovery point is side pull.
Correct.
You know, because sometimes you're being pulled out and your vehicle's just kind of moving around, and it starts to get where you get a side pull. Your factory recovery points on the GM trucks can handle half the weight of the vehicle.
Right.
That's not a ton, you know what I mean? So especially if you get into especially if it's stuck, you're stuck. You're having to pull a lot of force.
Right, and they're typically mounted under the frame, so the shear force on the bolts is only good if you're pulling directly straight.
That's right, yeah.
Because the two bolts are what is holding it to the frame. So the minute you put lateral pressure on there, you're reducing that, just as you were mentioning, where with the AEV, it's a direct bolt to the frame. And
it's also iron. So that this is an iron recovery point as opposed to, you know, some sort of composite metal. But you come around to the side, you know, with the AEV wheels, it's made out of the same type of aluminum as the other factory, a lot of your other factory wheels, but we do a what's called a T6 heat treatment to it. And that heat treatment just gives it more rigidity, makes it harder to bend. You know, if you're going to take a truck off-roading, there is a good chance you're going to pop a tire. It's just what happens sometimes. And it is a concern for a lot of people that their wheel can actually not, you know, you don't want it to bend or crack if when your tire goes flat and your wheel hits the ground, and you're probably still rolling a little bit anyway. We wanted to build it so it's kind of that a level above your normal factory wheel as far as strength and rigidity. We do the recessed valve stem, so that if you were to, you know, make a plane across the face of the tire, that valve stem's not going to stick out, because you could be going 2-3 miles an hour. If you're going down through some rocks, the rock can shear that thin rubber of your valve stem.
Right.
You know, a lot of your off-roaders, like still today, they'll have an extra valve stems just because it's that kind of an issue. But if you take it out, if you look inside here, if you don't mind me opening it.
Go ahead, it's full of stuff.
But you've got it comes with the AEV logo and the floor mat and then the headrest, which is really nice. I mean, GM really didn't want this to be a secret that we were helping them.
No. And you can see, even after having it for 6 days and putting the dog in and out, it's not clean. So
that's all right. You know, these are kind of things you want to get dirty. But
right.
You know, again, you look in the rear, it's got our stamped steel rear bumpers. So it's got the, you've got your steel along here and here, and it's plastic where it can be plastic. We want to reduce weight as much as we can. So the structural integrity, again, you got your iron recovery points in the rear, real easy to get to. They're not underneath. Some of your trucks, it's like you got to go up underneath to even find it. So it's great. One of the things that's kind of a lot we've been doing on our Gladiators, we've been doing a matte finish tailgate like this for quite a while, and it's kind of an AEV thing. So GM wanted to again tie in some looks that were common to a customer that knows an AEV product. They're going to go, yeah, that's AEV style. I mean, the badging is essentially identical to what we've been doing on the Jeeps and the Rams for a long time. But and again, there's 5 skid plates underneath the half ton. There's 5 skid plates under the Canyon. The HD they're not boron, and there's 4 of them, but one of them is about the same size as 2 of these. Mm-hmm. The reason why they didn't go, boron is more expensive, and the reason why they didn't go with boron on the HD is because, again, it was the weight reduction, the boron being 40% lighter. That was really as big a key as anything of why they wanted us
for the midsize
and the gouge, because the gas mileage concerns. When they got into the HD, and it wasn't as much of
the suspension can handle it and things like that.
Yeah,
so
yeah, and it also sits higher off the ground too.
Right.
Because that ZR2 comes with 35 stock.
Right.
And so does the AEV edition. But yeah, Derek, I really appreciate you bringing this over because it's just nice to see. We like to hear from the actual public. We can do our sales pitch and we can do our presentations and our videos and all these things all we want, but it's nice when the people who are actually buying these, they make an educated decision like, okay, I could have bought a Raptor, I could have bought a Pro 4X Frontier or a Titan or whatever,
right? But
I chose this, and so it's nice to actually hear why people choose that.
As I said, it's no secret I'm former GM, my wife's former GM.
That's awesome.
We're retired, and I've been driving GM products essentially my entire adulthood. So to waiver, I did look at some other options. I'm not going to get into specifics, but the GM is what fits us.
Yeah.
And when we start looking at some other options out there, I'm not saying that the Power Wagon isn't a great vehicle.
Sure.
But you get used to the features, right?
Yeah.
And even though they evolve, they're still the same.
Yeah.
Right. So when you go from, say, one brand to another, and then you can pick any 2 brands.
Yeah, it's true.
Just turning on the lights or the wipers could be in a complete.
You're like, okay, where?
Right.
Well, how do I open the fuel cap?
Right.
Cover
it's a
again.
complete learning experience to get from one brand to another. So.
Well, that's awesome, man. It's really rewarding. I mean, I started with AEV before this was a thing, and it's really just quite rewarding to have gone from it being a concept and us having that conversation with GM and saying, well, wouldn't that be cool? We don't know if it's going to happen. Wouldn't that be cool to actually be a part of GM from the factory?
Right.
And then actually like seeing it out in the wild. No one paid him to bring this here.
No.
No,
in fact, I paid dearly for that.
Yeah, I know.
So
yes, they're never going to be accused of cheap as being inexpensive trucks.
No, they're not. But the thing is that you've got AEV's done a lot with the Jeep.
Yeah.
They did a lot with the Power Wagon. They started out with the Bison. They're moved into the GMC line.
Yeah.
So they're expanding their presence with General Motors. I think based on the growth of the company and the offering and being able to bring what you guys have to the assembly line is a big thing. It really is.
I mean, it's done nothing also but help us as a company in all of our stuff, even our quote aftermarket stuff. It's really just helped us, informed us. I mean, I'm happy to say that there's some things, the ways we do things that GM found helpful, just the ways we do some of our tooling and coatings and things like that. It was really a great partnership. It wasn't them saying we're the big guys and we're going to give you little guys a chance, you're going to do everything the way we say. It really wasn't like that. They really came and said, hey, we respect you guys, your name's respected, your quality of your product looks like it meets our standards or exceeds it. What can we do together to make this really a legitimate vehicle that from your showroom to Moab or to Disney, Oklahoma, or wherever, you can go and not feel like scared to take your nice truck somewhere. That's a little bit rougher,
Exactly.
So, well, thanks for bringing it over here, man.
You got it.
I really
Cameron.
appreciate it,
You
Derek.
got it.
Nice to meet you.
You bet.